There is a correct way and an incorrect way to navigate this year's completely insane rookie class. We're going to talk about all of it, rank every single one of these players for you, and tell you how you should be going about your Dynasty rookie drafts in 2026. Our team has been working like crazy to get this video out immediately. Drop a like on the video to show support. Make sure you're subscribed as well if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. The S tier we love because it's love. And that's really the only thing we love about this class. Everything else past this, not the best. Love is, of course, he was always going to be landing spot agnostic. He could have gone pretty much anywhere here, right? He could have gone anywhere in the top 5, and it wouldn't have really mattered because he's a running back that is getting top 10 draft capital in the NFL. And when you're looking at the hit rates for those guys, absolutely sky high. I don't ever think there has been one that has missed so far. Wide receivers, you've seen some misses. Running backs, they don't miss. Goes to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are offense maxing right now. You notice that they've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, and they've got Trey McBride. Now they've got Jeremiah Love. And right there in the middle, it's Jacoby Brissett. And a lot of people will point to that and say, I'm not really comfortable with that. Jeremiah Love, from a Bakery standpoint, again, one of the best running back prospects the Bakery has ever seen. The second highest rated Bakery running back prospect ever. He is a sure thing. There's in no world, in no universe, should you take anybody besides Love as the 101. This is old news. We've covered this for months and months on end. Jeremiah Love, the Cardinals landing spot, I don't mind it at all. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's a fine offense, and we're going to roll with it. He's our 101 in his own tier as we get to the 3 wide receivers that we had in the A tier before the draft.
Yeah, that's going to start with Carnell Tate, who's the first wide receiver off the board to Tennessee, 4th overall. He's the one that, of the big 3 wide receivers in this class, Tate, Tyson, and Lemon, definitely seems to have the clearest, best avenue to be the unquestioned number 1 option in his offense. I would wager this is the second best situation of the 3 to be in. I mean, in a Brian Dable offense, I don't think you could ask for much more for a guy that, again, you'd expect is going to have potential wide receiver 1 upside for the number 1 option for Cam Ward. Again, they've been looking for this guy. They're trying to surround Ward with all the best weapons possible for him to be successful there. I think, again, he was being mocked to Tennessee a good number of times. Pre-draft, this was always an expectation or a possibility. It was going to be Jeremiah Love or probably a weapon for Tennessee. They end up going the wide receiver route because Love goes the pick before. When you look at the Bakery, he ends up being the wide receiver 2 at the end of the day. Lemon is still up top there, which is a testament to him, even though he goes multiple picks further down the board after Tate and Tyson. But look, I am very, very okay with everybody comfortably taking Carnell Tate really at the beginning of the 3rd round in their Dynasty startups, and that's where the 102 is probably going to settle comfortably, which is where it was actually pre-draft. It didn't really change much in value. Jordan Tyson, again, we kind of touched on this a little bit in the round 1 draft reactions video, but Jordan Tyson being paired with Chris Olave in a Kellen Moore offense with Tyler Shuck throwing the ball, where they went out of their way to draft multiple weapons and offensive guys in this year's draft, I think is very indicative of how the Saints as an organization feel about Tyler Shuck and him leading their franchise to hopefully what is the promised land and winning their division. And they were actually pretty decent last year for a team that was slightly below average and well below average in terms of personnel and skill players available on the offensive side of the ball. So with Tyson being added to that situation, I think this is great for Shuck, obviously. I think for Tyson and his production outlook, his rookie season, you're looking at him probably being the second option to Chris Olave, who I do think is still effectively currently the wide receiver 1 there. Long term, could that switch? I think that's totally a possibility. But they do have the experience with Olave where he's was a wide receiver 1 last year. Tyler Shuck, though, in a Kellen Moore offense, you're looking at him probably providing quite a bit of passing volume. I would guess like well into the 30s passing attempts per game. You've historically seen Kellen Moore coach the Dallas Cowboys, the offense coordinator for the Eagles back when they won the Super Bowl, which got him the head coaching job ultimately in New Orleans. Again, he does like to throw the ball and play the strengths of his quarterback, and Shuck is not afraid to sling it. They just got to give him the weapons necessary to do that consistently. So this is what they go with here with Jordan Tyson. Again, I would have rather seen Jordan Tyson go to the Chiefs. I'm not going to bury him or rank him below Mekhi Lemon, who's kind of in a similar situation in a less ideal passing volume outlook. So that's why he's going to be our number 3 wide receiver here, but still in the A tier. Honestly, for simplicity's sake, we're going to have all these guys in the same tier and not get cute with it. If you wanted Lemon to almost be in like his own little sub tier below Tate and Tyson, I wouldn't argue against that necessarily, because he is probably going to often be the third wide receiver off the board just because Jalen Hurts throws the ball like 20 to 25 times a game. Now, A.J. Brown is going to be on the move. I do think Lemon has the upside, and we would expect him to ultimately be the top option long-term for Philadelphia, whereas we know exactly what Devonta Smith is going to be in that offense. We know exactly what Devonta Smith has been in that offense for the last 6 years since he's been on that team, right? So with Lemon going 18th overall, again, Howie jumping Pittsburgh, I would much rather see Lemon in Philly than I would in Pittsburgh, that's for sure, because at least we have a better idea what that offense will look like, and you've seen, again, even with low amounts of passing volume in Philadelphia, 2 wide receivers consistently have maintained a floor of wide receiver 2 production. So we still like Mekhi Lemon a lot here. We're not going to be big downers on the landing spot. And again, by the time that A.J. Brown is on the move, you're going to see Lemon maybe even see a little bit of a bump in value in the summer.
Yeah, he was 20th overall. Again, doesn't really matter. Yeah. And I honestly, I'll fight for Lemon in this year. I love Lemon, you know that. I think situationally you can make the argument, like you said, with Jalen Hurts, but will Jalen Hurts be the quarterback there long term? And that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Cole Payton.
I mean, now it's going to be Cole Payton, right? The B tier is probably the most interesting tier in Dynasty rookie drafts, and I think it was the biggest winner of, and probably the only winner. This is probably the only bright spot we got from the draft results. It's like, okay, maybe this is slightly better. And Ja'Jarian Price is the focal point of this. So we'll talk about this. If you would like help in your rookie drafts, if you want to join a Dynasty community where you can get constant advice in your rookie drafts and get our Dynasty Domain Rookie Draft Suite, we have that available for you now. You're going to get 2 free team blueprints when you sign up with code DOMAIN. You're also going to get 2 rookie draft blueprints for that specific roster in that league. You're going to get our rookie draft analyzer tool that we just dropped, so you can check that out. We're going to have it on the site for you. Hit rates, who's the best pick at your certain pick in your draft, who should you take, who's the bakery score hit, who's the archetype hit, all of that things. And so you can check that out as well. You get the full bakery database courtesy of Ryan Bread, so you can see the analytics, not only of this class, but where they sit historically in terms of other prospects. Plus, you're going to get everything the site has as well. Trade calculator, rankings. You're going to be able to join the Discord, get in our leads, etc. So you can get our rookie draft suite, everything you need, join a great Dynasty community. And again, you get 2 free team blueprints. We'll end the sale this weekend, but it's our Black Friday. So go check it out at the link below, and you can access that. We also have a couple of draft bundles that you can take advantage of if you're an existing member and want to get some discounts on some team reviews, some rookie draft blueprints, and some swag boxes. We've got those down below as well. So go check it out. Again, come join the community. It's code DOMAIN, annual Mother Flocker tier. And you do get 2 free team blueprints when you join right now only. Dropping down to the B tier, I'm going to talk about Price last because I'm going to actually spend quite a bit of time talking about him. Mendoza goes where we knew he was going to go. We love him so much. And with Mendoza, the biggest red flag, I think, when you're seeing people, whether it's on Dynasty Twitter or, I haven't necessarily seen any other rankings anywhere else yet, is that you do have some people that are pricing Mendoza at like the 102. But even if you're pricing Mendoza like at the 102, 103, even 104, the problem with that is where you've seen these picks go in startup drafts is typically the 3rd and 4th round. And when you're talking about the type of quarterback that Fernando Mendoza is, you are pricing him extremely close to his value ceiling. Because if we know something about Fernando Mendoza, and we do know a little bit about Mendoza, given that we watched every snap of his this year, most of them in person, Fernando Mendoza is not a guy who's probably going to supplement his fantasy football production with a lot of rushing upside. He is going to maybe get you like the Justin Herbert level, like rushing. He can extend plays with his legs. He did obviously have one of the greatest plays of all time in the national championship game against Miami. He can do that, and he does have rushing touchdowns. You saw that demonstrated at IU this year. At the same time, I don't think you're talking about this near at the level of, a Drake May, a Lamar Jackson, a Jaden Daniels. You're not even talking close to there. And so you're really kind of bucketing him as a, absolute ceiling case as a passer would be like a Joe Burrow. And I don't think anybody's really arguing that he's going to be like a Joe Burrow type quarterback in the NFL. He's just not really that talent. I think most people would place him among the Goffs of the world, the Trevor Lawrences of the world, the Jordan Loves of the world, the Dak Prescotts of the world. And one thing you'll notice about that particular quarterback archetype in Dynasty, that value ceiling typically is where? Around the 3rd and 4th round, where again, he's actually being priced there if you are taking him 102, 103, 104. So for Mendoza, 105 through 108 is the perfect in-between for him. The 105 through 108 is all over the place. You can get those picks anywhere from the 5th to the 8th round this year. Mendoza goes somewhere in there with all of those quarterbacks I just mentioned, with the exception of Trevor Lawrence, who is being priced again, probably closer to his ceiling at the moment as well. from a Dynasty Superflex perspective, most people are focusing on the positional advantage of owning wide receivers in Dynasty now. And so we're always going to tell you to take these 3 elite wide receivers that got top 20 draft capital over the quarterback when, the fact of the matter is quarterbacks have become maybe the least liquid position in Dynasty fantasy football. It's almost impossible to move them. Do not reach for team need here. Mendoza is what he is. He is being priced a little bit close to his ceiling, but he's still a very safe pick. And the draft is so bad, you have to take him in this tier. Concepcion I'll talk about next. I am very convinced that Concepcion should be in this B tier.
The Boston pick does not hurt him, by the way.
No, and yeah, I did see some, Boston, Concepcion is stocked down because of Boston. Again, we say this a lot. I don't think adding a competent outside wide receiver is bad for a wide receiver like Concepcion who's working the middle of the field. In fact, most of the time, adding a competent X or a competent guy on the outside is going to help the guys running. I think, if anything, you're having the discussion about Harold Fannin and Casey Concepcion together, but you were having that discussion regardless of Denzel Boston. And so with Concepcion, when you're looking at his reception perception, it's completely elite, right? And so we talked about that in one of our videos before the draft. We're talking about his bakery score. He's the wide receiver 4 in the bakery. He does fall at the top of this upside plus tier here. Just the upside tier that he falls into. And he's pretty close to getting up a tier here, but regardless, he is above Cooper, Boston, Brazel, Williams, Bell, and Bernard. And he is an elite separator. He's probably the best separator in this class. He was my guy in this class. And between the top 25 draft capital for Casey Concepcion, going to a landing spot where even though Fannin's there's not really a lot of other wide receivers. It's completely different in my opinion than Cooper, because Cooper, you already had Garrett Wilson there and you bring in Sadiq. And that is the main issue with a Cooper and why he's not in this tier. But Concepcion really kind of elevated his status as a prospect the last couple months, gets good draft capital. I don't think this is the worst landing spot for him. I feel very strongly that he is in a tier above Omar Cooper Jr., and Omar Cooper Jr. is one of my favorite college players of all time, and I still think he's going to ball out on the Jets. Concepcion, in my opinion, is a better pick from a market value perspective and in terms of the talent. And then Jadarian Price here. And I know I'm kind of going on about this tier. I think this is the most pivotal tier in Dynasty rookie drafts this year. I really do think this is the most important tier. Jadarian Price is such an interesting case because he was obviously sitting behind Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. I think the last time that it was 2 running backs in the first round from the same team was something like Arkansas in 2008. I think that's what it was. And so it doesn't happen. Jeremiah Love was a Heisman candidate. When you watch Price's film at the beginning of the season, and a lot of people want to point this out, and he's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. I think his film's good. We've had him as our running back 2 here for quite a while. Really, I think throughout most of the process, we've had him as our running back 2. I mean, and it panned out. He goes the 32nd pick to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I think the best case scenario here and the best argument you could make for Price is, why would they take Jadarian Price in the first round? Why would they spend the 32nd overall pick on this guy at running back if they did not plan on using him extensively? And a lot of people say, okay, he actually reminds me of Kenneth Walker. And what did Kenneth Walker do when he was in that offense? I agree, but you have to understand, the same organization, the coaching staff that drafted Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker is not there anymore. And the coaching staff that deployed them last year, the offensive coordinator, the offensive system that deployed them last year in the splits that they got, also not there anymore. So you are talking about a completely different offensive situation for these guys this year. Charbonnet is coming off of an ACL. You do have Emmanuel Wilson there. But and the problem is, like, his bakery grade is good, not great. He comps to like a Josh Jacobs in terms of like a first round level prospect in the bakery. He does fall into a decent tier. He falls in that elite upside tier. And the round in terms of the elite upside tier, the round 1 guys that have gone there has literally just been one guy, and it's been Josh Jacobs. So we have an extremely small sample size. He's very unique, and everything that you're talking about Price with is projection. It has to be, because you did not have the production profile at Notre Dame because he was not the best running back on his team. But it doesn't mean he's not good. And we go back to this. We talked about this in the draft stream as well. Yeah, you don't see it. You haven't seen a lot of proof of the receiving upside from Price. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And at the end of the day, I think we have to be careful with projecting with Price. So we're not going to put him in a tier above Mendoza and Concepcion. But at the same time, we absolutely can't put him lower than this. He's a first-round running back, and the fact of the matter is, when you're looking at running backs that have gone in the first round of Dynasty rookie drafts that have either top 10 or actually, let's just even do rest of the first round. So 11 through 32 draft capital, those running backs. There have been 5 of them that we've counting. We've got a couple last year that we have had as well. Actually, there have only been 4 of them. There have been Travis Etienne, who had elite dynasty value at one point, Najee Harris had elite dynasty value at one point. Jahmyr Gibbs has elite dynasty value. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one of them, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, do remember, was a top 5 dynasty startup pick, so you do have that as well. And then Omarion Hampton, who already still, after his first year, is a second-round dynasty startup pick. So in terms of the hit rates of guys in the last 5-6 classes who have been running backs drafted not in the top 10, but in the rest of the first round, all of them have been startable. 3 out of the 4 of them have technically been like consistent starters. Clyde Edwards-Helaire really never got there from a production standpoint. 3 out of the 4 of them that we count have been elite as well. The hit rates are pretty good on these first-round running backs. It's a balance of projecting and also taking analytical hit rates historically and landing here for price. I know that was a monologue. I think this is absolutely the most important tier in dynasty drafts this year. The 107 probably got the biggest boost of any pick in this draft because I think you're taking a pretty safe guy no matter who you're taking in this tier. I think that was the one bright spot. The only bright spot in this draft for me was the 107 because Nate's going to get into it, and I'll just let you take the next 2 tiers.
Yeah.
After this, there's just so much that you just don't love. There's just a lot that you like, but there's a lot you don't like.
Yeah, huge shout outs to the Jets for ruining our lives. Omar Cooper and Kenyon Sadiq both go in the first round to the Jets. Honestly, the Jets took who they wanted to take here in Sadiq, which we were fine with, and then they traded up for Cooper because he kept falling when everybody expected him to go earlier. And all of the good teams in the back half of the first, are in denial, and they never want to take a good wide receiver prospect. So the Jets were like, sweet, we'll move up and get him. So they have both of them now, which leaves us with Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper, and Kenyon Sadiq, all hungry for targets from Geno Smith and Cade Klubnik as the backup QB. Potential starting opportunity there this year for him. There's no way around it, guys. And again, we also talked about this in the reaction video in the first round. One of these guys is going to take a massive hit in terms of the target volume that we expect for them this season in what is already a bad situation. You cannot expect one of the worst offenses in the NFL to support 3 hyper-productive fantasy assets in the receiving game when we can't even get that to happen in Chicago or Detroit or any of the premium offenses in the league. One of these guys is going to take a hit. That being said, we can't just bury these guys in our rankings because their draft capital and analytics are so good. And there is always a chance and always a hope that the Jets do end up getting into a better situation with their quarterback. Maybe they end up getting an early pick next year and get a franchise quarterback option who provides more passing volume for all of these guys to produce. The reality is Garrett Wilson is a $30 million a year wide receiver who is not going to be negatively impacted by Cooper and Sadiq. He will negatively impact Cooper and Sadiq. Our hope is that at least 2 of these guys can be productive. That's what we're hoping for. That's our baseline. Anything beyond that's a bonus and honestly unlikely. But that's why we're probably going to have shares of both of these guys and kind of split it up. And a tight end premium, if you want to give the upper hand to Sadiq, that's fine with me. If you want to go with the wide receiver who is very productive in Indiana's championship run, I'm totally cool with you going with Cooper there as well. I generally, personally, I tend to lean the wide receiver just because of positional value in Dynasty right now. Wide receivers are hot commodities. Everybody's looking for the next, guy who's going to skyrocket up into the foundational or cornerstone tier from Upside Premier, which is where Cooper and Sadiq both settle heading into the 2026 season as rookies. So both of these guys, again, it kind of is what it is, and we have to deal with it. And this was our worst case scenario, and it actually ended up being worse than worst case because both of them ended up on the same team where we wanted to see neither of them go there. And now both of them are there. These are take your medicine picks, though. In reality, you can't bury these guys because, again, heading into next season when they're likely to draft a quarterback because they're loaded with draft capital, that's when they're going to end up being really good investments. At the 108 and the 109, though, you cannot, in our opinion, take them behind guys like Simpson and Stowers who we're going to have in the D tier. Simpson obviously is going to not start at all this year, so he really doesn't have any room this season to skyrocket up boards unless Stafford gets injured and his back snaps in half. Really, that's the only way that he's going to find the field. This is Stafford's team. That's been made very clear. He's actually working out an extension that might go beyond 2026 anyways. The Rams aren't necessarily planning for Stafford to be done playing football soon, and they're not going to push him out the door. He just won most valuable player and took them to the NFC Championship. This is, in our eyes, not necessarily a Kirk Cousins situation where Atlanta threw too much money to Kirk Cousins just because they wanted a starting quarterback, and then they took Penix as insurance/long-term option anyways when they were clearly not very sure about Cousins but wanted to pay him coming off of an Achilles. Like, this is a totally different situation. We expect Stafford to be the starting quarterback in LA for at least a year. That being said, if you're a hard rebuild that's looking to not contend for the foreseeable future, Simpson is your pick, because the moment that he steps into a starting role in LA, his value increases, I would say, by at least 50% when all's said and done. And that would be, we would expect a year or two. Like, Stafford could easily retire after the 2026 season. You're looking at Simpson, again, being a starter potentially as early as 2027, probably no later than 2028, I would guess. Eli Stowers is a my guy, flag plant guy. I could not be happier about the landing spot here for Stowers. Why would I be happy about a landing spot for Stowers where the passing volume is so low? Because, again, we've seen two wide receivers be ultra productive at the same time, and Goddard also gets his own. And Goddard, almost at the expense of the production of the wide receivers, would be very productive. They love using their tight ends, especially in red zone situations. What I loved about Stowers' film so much is how athletic and how explosive and how physical he is in the intermediate part of the field. He can break tackles. He can run on the outside, bring in back shoulders. I mean, he is literally like he's my favorite. He's my personal favorite tight end. I understand you have to draft Sadiq over him. The draft capital obviously better. The athletic profile obviously better there. Stowers. I love Stowers a ton. He is the Dallas Goedert replacement. They were expecting Dallas Goedert to be gone this offseason. Goddard didn't get much interest in free agency. They signed him for one more year. This is the changing of the guard. Goddard does have a lot of injury history. He usually misses time every single year. All it's going to take for Stowers to maintain value, this is why tight ends in the second round who have good analytics and good profiles are such good investments in the early second round, late first round of your rookie drafts almost every single year, whether it's a deep class or a not deep class. They're very solid investments because it doesn't take much for them to maintain their value year over year in the early parts of their career. If Stowers has 2 games this year of 15 plus points because he gets a touchdown or 2, he maintains his value. Yep. And honestly, with that situation, he will probably gain because Goddard is more than expected to be gone in 2027 for sure. Like, he is the succession plan. The Eagles and Howie love Eli Stowers, and we do too. Let's go to the B tier.
All right.
F tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're far past that. I'll get your live reaction on this. This is a 6th round selection. Katron Allen to the Washington Commanders. That's juicy, isn't it?
Yes.
Juicy fish. All right, here we go.
Oh, man.
So we did add him in here. We'll talk about him here in a couple tiers. Obviously, the draft capital is not great. The hit rates aren't great. However, still worth noting because it's, Rashad White, Corey Krosky, Merritt. You could have some guys there. Mm-hmm. Okay, talking about these guys. The F tier. Denzel Boston. There was hope he would go in the first. He didn't. There were lots of holes in his profile, and I think the NFL saw that too, and he goes to a team on the Browns where they really don't have anybody there filling that role. It was Cedric Tillman, and I think Denzel Boston's an easy start over Cedric Tillman at some point this season, if not right away. And so for Boston, when you're looking at his analytics, he still does fall in that upside tier, right behind Cooper and Concepcion here. And so really, from an analytical standpoint, he has a higher profile than any of the guys who went in the second or third below him, and he sits just below the guys who went in the first above him. I think this is the perfect spot for him. And again, good landing spot. The Browns, I mean, people say, oh, it's terrible. I don't think it's as bad as people think at the Browns. They don't have a quarterback this year, maybe. Or maybe
they're down all the time, so
maybe they do because the Browns drafted Taylon Green from Arkansas, so that he could potentially make some noise there. But people say bad landing spot. I think Concepcion and Fanta, if anything, they're going to fight for the middle of the field, and I think Boston will have opportunity on the outside. The hit rate, when we're looking at the hit rate for second-round wide receivers that have gone really from the, let's do 111 to 212 in rookie drafts, with round 2 draft capital, 7 out of 18 of these guys have been startable at some point or better. And so when you're looking at guys like Lab McConkey, George Pickens, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Rashee Rice, Alec Pierce, Jaden Reed, like all of these guys have also hit from a value perspective. There's some other guys in there that have hit from a value perspective. Well, not to mention, we're waiting on Luther Burden. We're waiting on Jaden Higgins. This group is not a terrible group, and I think Boston falls firmly into, as I feel about as confident in him as I felt about some of those other guys, with the exception of maybe some guys we felt a little bit more confident about in there. But I do think he's a step ahead of the guys in the tier below this, and I think he's a step below the guys in the tiers above this, and so it situates him right there in the F tier. And that is, what is that? Is that our 11 and 112 here? Or is this our 112 and 201? Do the math for me.
That's our 112 and 201.
Okay, so right there at the turn, right? And the other guy we're going to put up here actually is Max Clare.
You want to know a fun fact about Max Clare?
I love fun facts.
Via Ryan. 4 second-round tight ends that were drafted in the second round of the NFL draft that ended up going in the second round of Dynasty rookie drafts. Those 4 tight ends were Michael Mayer, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta,
and Mason
Taylor.
I had
2
it
of those
here.
were replaced by elite-level prospects at the tight end position. Then the other 2 ended up being elite-level players.
Yeah, they were elite. I mean, you had 2 elite hits there on Laporta and McBride.
Yep.
And you literally, I had the tool open, filtered to that. I was going to say it, so that's kind of funny. You read my mind there. Yeah, no, Claire, I mean, that's pretty decent company. This basically speaks to the absolute depths of the cliff that this whole class just hits right here. It is so, the seconds we have said, I don't know for how long now, so incredibly consistently, your seconds are going to be worthless. Ship them away as throw-ins and deals. Use them to get deals done. They are throw-in level assets. You're not missing out on that. Do not sell low on them, but sell your seconds at all costs. And every blueprint we've done for the past 5 months, when somebody has had seconds, we have recommended to move them. Every single one. And everybody wondered why. This was always why. Because it gets ugly. And Claire, again, when you're talking about hit rates for tight ends that go with this draft capital combination and go in this range of rookie drafts, even though he's being elevated because of the weakness of the class, which is a valid point if you're trying to argue against this, Claire goes to a Los Angeles Rams tight end room where it's a little bit, murky. The fact of the matter is they use 11 different tight ends every single game, and all of them catch at least 1 touchdown a year. And so is that because that's just a McVay thing, which I think there's some of that. It's just a McVay thing, or is that because there's never really been, or really since Tyler Higbee had a couple of really good years, they haven't had a tight end where they really wanted to force feed him. Terrence Ferguson, I was very in on Terrence Ferguson last year. He did have some small flashes last year, but for the most part, didn't do anything. He's probably going to be a miss, and he was a 3rd round shot for me. So 3rd round, who cares? But for Claire, I mean, you're talking about taking him at 201. He's very talented, and one thing that's worth pointing out for him is his analytics as well. His bakery grade is very high here. He is actually ahead of Eli Stowers from a bakery analytics standpoint. They're very close together. I need to note, but they do both fall in that same tier from a hit rate perspective, and that is the elite upside tier. When you're looking at round 2 guys that go in that elite upside tier, none of them have been top 6 tight ends or had top 6 tight ends seasons, but 3 out of the 5 of them have had tight end 1 seasons. Okay, and so you're looking at those guys, and what you've seen is kind of like low ceiling but high floor. And what this is a floor pick, because I think the floor when you're picking at the 201 this year in rookie drafts is absolutely 0. I think the floor is nothing. And so, Max Clare probably will be one of the better picks for us this year. We're going to lean tight end because he's one of the safer picks in Dynasty rookie drafts from a hit rate perspective. So again, Claire's going to be a big guy for us this year. We'll pop over to the G tier here. Welcome to Purgatory. Pick whoever you like this year. We are going to try to give you the best possible advice to navigate this range this year if you have picks.
Yeah, this is a rough one to navigate in the G tier. We're going to start with Jeremy Bernard and go a little bit, not even a little bit, against the grain. Jeremy Bernard was a 2nd-round pick, went to a decent landing spot where Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf are both not necessarily long-term options. They're going to get the job done this year. Jeremy Bernard is by far the most dynamic weapon available in that offense when you're talking about his upside. Is that actually going to translate? We'll see. I don't think he's the most dynamic route runner by any means. I do think he's a very good athlete. I do love the way that he was utilized in Alabama. Maybe McCarthy can get creative with him in Pittsburgh, but I mean, a lot of this is going to be dependent on who's a quarterback there as well. Is it going to be Aller? Is it going to be Will Howard? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers this year? Is he going to come back? I'm so tired of playing the Aaron Rodgers carousel, but we're back here again on repeat for I feel like the 3rd year in a row. So, Jeremy, you do have to respect where his landing spot was and what his draft capital was. Again, 2nd-round draft capital for a wide receiver isn't anything to write home about, but this is how bad it's getting, and we're not even to the mid-2nd yet, technically. We are already looking at, and again, we warned you guys that this was a possibility. We said that there are going to be a number of day 3 running backs that were likely to go in the 2nd round of your Dynasty drafts this year, your Dynasty rookie drafts, and that is the case. And it's going to start with Jonah Coleman. He ended up falling to the 3rd round, went early mid-4th, which is very unfortunate for me. I like Jonah Coleman, thought there was a chance he would go in the third round. He ended up not, fell to the fourth, but he does go to a pretty, I would say pretty open situation. Honestly, it's a pretty open situation in Denver. Some people reacted right away. But when you think about it, like J.K. Dobbins, while he's productive when he's on the field, he's only on the field half the time. He's getting consistent 1-year extensions. He's kind of just a journeyman that's going to get opportunities when he's there, and then he's going to lose them when he leaves, inevitably. And then R.J. Harvey is seeming to be kind of like a change of pace receiving back, or change of pace receiving back. Jonah Coleman is very good at pass protection, and he's kind of a bowling ball, so he can capitalize on short yardage situations. I think heading into the year, you're probably going to expect J.K. Dobbins to be the running back one there again on the depth chart as long as he's healthy, with Harvey and Coleman probably fighting it out for the second option there. There's always a possibility, though, for a fourth-round running back to do well enough in training camp that he earns the right to get more opportunities than we expect to start the year. And I do think that is absolutely in the cards for Jonah Coleman, where R.J. Harvey did absolutely nothing last year to solidify his position as the number 2, maybe number 1 option there. He's just kind of ended up being, from a prospect perspective, exactly what we thought he would be at the NFL level, even though he got way higher draft capital than anyone ever expected. And again, Dobbins could get hurt at the drop of a pin. Like you just never know with him. He could put his toe on the grass and it could fall off.
So rupture, yeah.
There's actually quite a bit of value upside opportunity there for Jonah Coleman as early as this year. And if he can capitalize there, I mean, you're looking at an opportunity for him to be the lead back there, like as early as this year. But again, that's so many ifs and buts, and we're in the mid-second. Nick Singleton, same situation. You're looking at 2 other running backs there. Tony Pollard, who's been the lead back there. He's had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons. Tyjae Spears, change of pace, receiving back who's got some juice. Nick Singleton is a receiving back who has some of the worst vision that I've seen on film, at least this past year. I thought it was worse this year than it was the year before. And he's really, really, really stupid athletic and goes to what I would define as a pretty open room. Again, this is one where seniority is going to take precedence with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. As long as they're healthy, they're probably going to be the top 2 options there. If Nick Singleton shows enough in training camp, this is what we're looking at here in this tier, guys. We are looking ahead to August. We're waiting for those beat writer reports to come out, and the moment we see Nick Singleton is opening eyes, that's when you start looking at a decent value win if you invested in him at a dang near JAG developmental price. We're going to end here with Aller and Carson Beck at the end of this G tier. They're going to be treated as JAG level assets because they're 3rd-round quarterbacks, and the hit rates for 3rd-round quarterbacks are not good. That's been well documented. The reason we have them this high is, number 1, again, the depth of the class is this bad. It's this bad. But number 2, we're not counting on the hit rates of 3rd-round quarterbacks for these guys to be value wins in August or September or October, whenever they end up stepping onto the field. You take your guess at who you think is going to be on the field earlier. Is it going to be Carson Beck, who takes over for Jacoby Brissett because they may as well try it out? Do you think it's going to be Drew Aller if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back? And even if he does, is he going to get hurt? You never know. And is he going to get a chance his second year? You never know. They both got good enough investment in the 3rd round in this class that they are likely, after the Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders experiment last year, in a very ambiguous quarterback room, very likely to get a chance to step on the field. The moment they step on the field, we learned this with the Shedeur Sanders experiment last year. You take the bag of chips probably after he steps on the field if you kept holding on to him thinking he was actually going to turn into something.
Sure.
But before, you actually probably want to hold on to him and sell him for a little bit more when the believers are selling him for like 27 seconds. Right. And that's always going to be a possibility for these starting quarterbacks, right? They're not a dime a dozen once push comes to shove in the middle of the year. There are 32 starting quarterbacks, really the relevant ones that are startable for your dynasty team in your superflex spot. It's going to be around like 20. And especially when injuries happen and you see backups starting to get opportunities here, you never know when Aller or Beck is going to step on the field and get a chance in 2 situations where they have no idea what the long-term situation is going to be for the quarterback room there. So I know it's ugly, and I know these guys aren't going to be treated super highly to begin with, but if you hold on to them and sit on them until August at least, and then you start hearing this training camp buzz and saying, oh, this guy's going to get a chance, this guy's going to start at some point, this is when it starts getting really interesting when you're talking about the value return that you could get and the value wins that you can build up with one of these late second round picks in a really poor depth class.
All right. H tier, again, you're getting to this range now. We're not going to spend a ton of time. I'm not going to flesh out a ton of these because we're going to have positional rankings videos with bakery scores that you're going to see. So we're going to move through these fairly quickly here. But
quick note, how many third round wide receivers have you seen in our rankings so far up to this point? Zero. There's a reason.
Let's quickly talk about the reason for that when I'm using the hit rates here. Let's just go for the first 2 rounds of Dynasty Rookie Draft. Round 3 wide receivers drafted from the 101 to the 212 in Dynasty Rookie Draft since 2020. There have been 8 of them. Approximately 1 of them has ever been startable, and it's been Josh Downs. 1 out of 8 of them. There's only been ever 8 because most of the time they're not even going in the second round. Yep. Third round wide receivers normally go in the third round. But this year, they're going at like the 204. So that should tell you everything you need to know about this draft. And again, because of that, H tier, this is going to be for us a combination of guys that we like their film and analytics, and the opportunity probably presents itself for them to be somewhat relevant. But I will say this, I am not going to look at any singular person across the entire Dynasty landscape and make fun of or pick at their rankings past this point, because you are literally just picking the guys you like at this point. Mm-hmm. These guys are going to be worthless. They are all Jags. They barely matter.
They barely make your taxi.
Pick the guys you like. And you're going to see, and the NFL did the same thing this year, and it's why it's all jank, because the NFL, I mean, you saw Stribling go at the 33rd pick. And Stribling sucks. He's bad, and we're not going to rank him high. And so the NFL didn't care about any of the board or the pre-draft rankings or anything like that. And we don't care what the NFL says at this point. It is legitimately abysmal out here this year. When you get past, it's already been abysmal. This is the abysmalist, in my opinion. At Chris Bell in Miami, I think Chris Bell goes to Miami, and he's the best wide receiver there right away. So opportunity, props him up regardless of, him being a third round wide receiver.
Well, we know he fell because of the medical.
He fell because of the medical. Malik Washington will probably have the most targets in that Dolphins room just because of the type of receiver he is. But Chris Bell has a lot of upside and opportunity, so we'll put him there. Antonio Williams goes to the Washington Commanders. He'll be the slot guy there running next to Terry McLaurin. They had Jalen Lane running a little bit there, but they did rotate their receivers pretty heavily, those Commanders last year, especially their slot guys. I think Antonio Williams has an opportunity to get on the field, and we personally liked him as a sleeper, and we liked his profile. So again, opportunity, and we like him. Boom. Eli Raridan, tight end from New England. He's probably going to be more in the Austin Hooper role than anything in New England's offense this year. Playing alongside Hunter Henry, the Patriots did like running 2 tight end sets there. Yeah. So I think the team said it best. He'll be more of a nuisance than anything this year to people who are trying to start Hunter Henry. We'll see if he actually develops it into any like fantasy relevant tight end like pass catcher. But he's a tight end. The hit rates are much better than the wide receivers here. So we'll be aggressive ranking tight ends this year. Elijah Surratt from Baltimore. I know, again, I'm ranking 4th round Elijah Surratt over 2nd round Dejon Stribling in the I tier. Do I think I know better than Lynch and Shanahan?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's official.
Like at this point, like I've never ever said that ever. This year, I genuinely don't understand with San Francisco, but also Surratt's my guy. And again, I think this is the year of years to just pick the guys you like and put them there. I think Baltimore for Surratt, I think he fits a very specific role there. Baltimore really struggled from a pass catching perspective in the red zone the last couple of years. They really didn't have a guy you could go down to. The guy that you saw a lot of times kind of show up in those moments was DeAndre Hopkins. And so with Surratt, I think Surratt, he's got to be more of like a big slot to make it in the NFL. And I think if they use him very specifically as a big slot and a red zone threat for that Ravens offense, I think he could have a role. Again, from a production standpoint, will he hit? I highly doubt it. He'll probably need touchdowns to be productive, but that's everybody in this range. Guys, the guys in the tier below is all the receivers. Branch, Brazel, Stribling, Douglas, Fields, Jacoby Lane. None of those guys are going to produce.
They're all Jags.
So I'm going to pick my favorite guys here. Surratt is my guy. He fell in the draft to the 4th round. I do not care. And I'm going to take him here. Kaylan Black. A lot of people want to trash the Kaylan Black pick. You know why Kaylan Black is a better selection than all of these wide receivers in the I tier down here? because of the value upside he holds by being Christian McCaffrey's handcuff.
This is, I mean, we have multiple case studies dating all the way back to CMC's time in Carolina with Mike Davis. You remember those days when Mike Davis was thrown into a starting running back role and his price doubled because he was scoring points, because he was getting touches, because he was getting opportunities. You're not taking a shot on a Kalen Black because you think he's going to end up being a star. He's 25 years old. By the time, if he worked out at the NFL level and was going to get a second contract, he'll be 29 at that point. Like you're purely doing this for insurance.
Was he a reach in the NFL draft? Sure.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, again, why have any of these running backs that Nathan mentioned had any semblance of value the last couple of years? Because they were McCaffrey's handcuff. McCaffrey's very injury prone, as you know. And the second that he goes down, it's a free-for-all in San Francisco in terms of who will be the starting guy there. And I think as soon as you hear...
Could be him or Jordan James still, honestly.
It is. And honestly, like with Kalen Black also, from an NFL perspective and a non-fantasy perspective, just a note in terms of it being a reach. Great pass protector. Great. Yeah, you saw that play in the national championship game when Mendoza ran that in. I talked about it earlier. You know who was one of the primary blockers on that play and absolutely stuck it to a linebacker and got Mendoza in the end zone? Kalen Black. He does stuff like that. He's downhill runner. I like Kalen. We had Kalen in our rankings, every rankings set we did. I said he was a sleeper. Nathan said he was a sleeper. We've both been very high on him. He was the better running back at Indiana. I think he's actually going to be a decent NFL back. But again, you don't take him for the production upside. For the value upside. Same thing with him and Johnson. You're not taking him for the production upside. This guy sucks. We've said that. But
Walker's injury prone.
But he's Walker's handcuff and Walker's injury prone.
Yeah.
You're taking him for the value win. You're taking him for the potential of him maybe having a role or being thrust into a starting role because Kenneth Walker can't stay on the field. And like Nathan said, he really hasn't shown us that he can. And so I think there's some value there in a running back room where you've got Amari DiMercado and Brashard Smith there. Emma Johnson could end up having a little flash value, and you can sell at that point.
I think he has the most immediate value upside opportunity because if he were to make noise in training camp, I think it would be a lot more relevant than Black or Emmett Johnson because they're behind a solidified running back.
I think this guy we would both agree could probably have even more maybe immediate value upside because he goes Katron Allen.
100%.
Oh, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, Katron Allen.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Johnson.
Nope, Katron.
Yeah, Katron I 100% agree with. Like this is the guy where like this could be your worst version of Brian Robinson. Everybody trashed Brian Robinson, but he went in the third round. But he ended up being the starting running back there.
Yeah, we trashed him too.
Where did Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt go last year? 6th round, 7th round, 6th round?
I think he was undrafted.
7th round.
7th
round.
Okay. Cool.
And he started for some of the games last year. It's wide open. And Rachaad White, not a super good rusher. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, I don't think they loved what they saw, even though there's a lot of hype there. Katron could have some short-term value upside, like Nathan said. And then the I and the J tier here.
Just a quick note, our boy Pat Coogan, center, just went to the Tennessee Titans.
Let's go, Pat.
6 rounds, yeah.
Attaboy Cougs. Yeah. By the way, just a little baby note here. Hopefully by the time this goes out, we put Eli Heidenreich in these rankings. He has not gone yet. Sadness. But we'll be excited to see where he goes here in the 6th or 7th round. He was always going to be a day 3 pick, but we still love him. Of course, we still love him.
As ugly as it is down here, I don't care where he goes.
I'll rank him in the S tier, dude. I'll rank him in the S tier. All right, I tier.
Yeah, I tier is going to start with Zachariah Branch, goes to Atlanta. He'll be a slot guy there. He actually will probably find a pretty immediate role. So will that role be productive in that situation? Doubt it. Chris Brazzell, probably going to be the deep threat contending for snaps there with, I would assume, Jalen Coker, maybe Xavier Legette. Like, I honestly don't know with Brazzell. Like, he ends up going to this landing spot where really I think the hope is, and somebody mentioned this, like we saw a run of wide receivers go day 2 that we've never seen before with that many wide receivers and tight ends. So maybe the depth of this class is actually better than we thought. No, it's actually worse than we thought because all these guys that were taken, guys like Brazzell, guys like Branch, are kind of thought to be potentially one-trick ponies and guys that are going to be role players at the NFL level and help, I guess, enhance the versatile skill sets of the elite players in those offenses, respectively, that are not those specific players in Brazzell or Branch or Jacoby Lane, etc. And they're really just like they're never going to be. Never say never, but we're not expecting them to be super fantasy relevant guys that you're looking to actually start unless they really defy the odds and work their way up the depth charts. Dejon Stribling, going to be the one that we're going to make the biggest case against here because he did go as a first pick off the board in the 2nd round. It took 33rd overall draft capital for this dude to find himself in an awful, absolutely abysmal wide receiver bakery tier.
I don't think this dude had his phone on him when he was drafted.
He's at the bottom of that tier, right by Ted Hurst and Xavier Thomas, Caleb Douglas, Jacoby Lane as well, just ahead of Zachariah Branch, Bryce Lance, Malachi Fields, Eric McAllister. I legitimately, the only thing I can say, and I know I'm not the only one that believes this, I don't know how many DeJon Stribling truthers there really are out there. I think there are very few, which is why I think everybody's so critical of what San Fran did day 2 of the draft. And I don't think many people are going to really be sold on this selection and overpay for a guy like Stribling. I think we know exactly what he is, and that is a guy who is probably not going to be super fantasy impactful, especially year 1. And not to mention he's 23 years old. There's just not a lot to like there. The analytics are absolutely awful. And like most people knew that before the pick was made. Next guy we'll have here is Caleb Douglas, who went to Miami, the alleged photographer who's not a photographer. Shout out Cole. Malachi Fields goes to the Giants, where he's got a depth chart to work his way up there as well. Darnell Mooney signed there. You got Darius Slayton there. You've got obviously Malik Neighbors number 1 option there. Will Malachi Fields find a role? Maybe. We'll see. Jacoby Lane, what does he do well? He's a deep threat. Pretty much athletically, people like him because he's an athlete. But I didn't see that dude win consistently, and I didn't see any effort on film. And I know Ryan and Avery did not either. No. Cade Klubnik goes to the Jets in the 4th round. We'll see if Geno sucks as bad as he did last year, and kind of similar to what we see with Aller and Beck this season, but a little less confident because, again, he went day 3. You could see an opportunity for Cade Klubnik to get on the field as early as this year because we expect the Jets to be pretty dang bad.
Okay, J tier. Ted Hurst. Look, Ted Hurst was a good sleeper. He's almost certainly not going to do anything from an analytics perspective. We can prove that. Mm-hmm. Jolly goes to Denver, or Jolie. He could be somebody you take a shot on in the 3rd or 4th round. It's not a bad shot. It's better than some of the other shots.
Yeah, this is where you can take shots on tight ends, and we're cool with it.
Cole Payton, take a shot on him, sure. I think it's a good shot there. Mike Washington, buried. Xavier Thomas, Chicago. Who? Oscar Delp, New Orleans. Woof. Bryce Lance, New Orleans. Trey Lance's brother. Tanner Koziel from Jacksonville. Do they not like Brenton Strange? And if they do, probably nothing. Marlon Klein from Houston. The Texans. And Riley Nowakowski, baby, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's only the 4th tight end there, but we love him to death. Make sure Riley Nowakowski gets his own graphic too, please. Kevin Coleman, Miami, and Taylor Green, taking the quarterback shot. We're going to have Shedeur Sanders and Taylor Green and maybe Deshaun Watson battling it out.
You know who I like the most in this list? We always usually have a couple of my guy sleepers. This year it's literally every single quarterback.
It's Cole Payton and Taylor. It's easily Cole Payton and Taylor Green.
That and it's bad.
The other guys and Riley Nowakowski. I literally will spend my 4ths that are absolutely worthless this year getting all of the IU players on my rosters. I will do.
He's a Connor Hayward replacement in that situation, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Not fantasy productive, but does fit my agenda in terms of Indiana Hoosiers excellence. So there you go. Just a couple really very quick general thoughts here. The 107 got a little bit of a boost from this draft. Everything else was actually slightly worse than we expected it to be. I expected the early second to be a little bit better than it ended up being. Probably the worst, and I'm not just saying this. In terms of the last 5 years, it is analytically, the A word, don't care, I'm using it. It is probably analytically the worst class on paper by far. And really, probably even the last 10 years. We've kind of put all the bakery scores against all the last 10 classes. And it's graded out as the worst. So I'm not just saying that. I've in terms of we've been doing content now through 5 draft classes, I think it's definitely the worst we've seen. It doesn't mean it's the worst of all time. Fact of the matter is, though, the draft did us no favors.
Good players.
You got to make sure you navigate these rookie drafts correctly and take the correct dart throws and correct shots. And we're going to try to give you a bunch of data and information to help you make those decisions. So, again, if you would like to access our rookie draft suite, you can access, again, 2 free team blueprints when you sign up. You can get 2 rookie draft blueprints with those, 2 infinite blueprints with those. You can also get our rookie draft analyzer tool where you can look at hit rates for certain combinations of draft capital, where they're going in rookie drafts, things like that. You can also get the bakery, the full bakery database that we use for all of our prospect analysis. And you're also going to get the leagues, the Discord. You're going to get all the flock tools, the trade calculator, all of our rankings. It's a great time to join. Again, you do get 2 free team blueprints. Plus, we've got 2 bundles, the drafts bundle, where you get 2 free team blueprints and a swag box. And then a BOGO, buy a blueprint premium, get a blueprint free. So all kinds of deals going on. Check them all out in the comments, but it's a great time to come join the community. It's the best time of the year, and we've got all the tools literally necessary for you to win your rookie drafts this year. This hit rate tool is going to be it's more important this year than in a year as you're navigating these later rounds. So we've got content coming literally all weekend for you, and that is what Nathan and I are sitting in the studio doing. So we love you, we appreciate you, and we're going to see you tomorrow morning with our first Dynasty rookie draft of the year. We'll see you then. In the meantime, go dominate your Dynasty leagues.